My name is Bretton Hamilton. I'm a game designer here at Tribeca Flashpoint Academy.
And how old are you?
I'm 19, yeah, 19.
And you just came from high school, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I just came from high school.
No other college or no other previous classes before it?
Nope, not necessarily. I mean, I took some college courses in high school, but like nothing that relates to game.
And you're right now studying game design?
Mm-hmm.
And what games influenced you to go into game design?
What games influenced me? Okay, so I'm gonna spit up a bunch of like indie games here. There was a game called Xenoclash, which was made by a small Chilean group, and this is a first-person like brawler. So you're just running around with your fists. There are guns in the game, but guns you don't necessarily use very often. So in this game, it's a very interesting narrative. And so at the time I was in creative writing, and I'd always, played games throughout my life, and they've always been a kind of a big part of who I am. But in creative writing, the story for this game got me inspired, and I thought, oh, well, maybe I could translate this video game into a novel. So I ended up, over the course of a semester, wrote an 81-page novel that basically told a side story that kind of merged with the story from Xenoclash.
Why do you have such a great loyalty for independent game companies and independent games?
Ah, boy. Okay, so indie games, as they're kind of referred to, is indie games really hit home for me because as much as I love, my favorite games of all time are big games, but I think there's a certain charm that indie games have because they're usually smaller studios, and everybody has since there's less people, everybody has a lot more say in what goes on, and they aren't necessarily controlled by the big, the publishers who can say, oh no, you can't do this because it lacks market appeal. Oh, you can't do that because this, that, the other thing. I feel that with indie games, it definitely they apply for a greater niche appeal. There are so many more indie games, and it seems to be becoming kind of a big thing for indie games to, well, what I'm trying to say is when games first got started, it was all in the garage. Everybody, guys would just come together, they'd sit in the garage, they'd drink beers, they'd just hang out, and they'd make a game. That was a long time ago. And now we're kind of seeing that more again, where all of a sudden we're kind of revisiting that. We've done this whole big industry thing, and the industry's only going to grow. But I think more and more people, the tools are becoming accessible to them that, hey, you don't need to be part of this big corporation to make games that you want to see and everybody else that wants to see. You can just pull up a couple guys, start drawing, and write some code, and boom, you're on your way to making a game that you want to see.
And my last question is, if you were to give any advice to incoming first years for the fall 2012, what would it be?
I would definitely say everybody kind of comes into the school, or at least the majority of the people who come into the school for game design, they anticipate themselves becoming designers. Be prepared to be surprised by yourself. I mean, a lot of the programs here and a lot of the tools that suddenly become available to you. I mean, I have a couple friends who came into the school absolutely determined to be designers, and now they're artists and they're cranking out incredible art. And just don't completely decide right off the bat. Be flexible, be open, and most importantly, it's the connections you make here and it's the effort that you put in that you get out. I know a few people that do bare minimum. Chances are when they come out of this, yeah, they'll get a job, but I don't know if it'll be going to the same places. You'll be quite as far as some of the rest of us that are really spending every day, every waking minute. I don't have time to play games. I'm here to make games. So I just think come to this school with that in mind.
Interesting. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, well, thank you very much.